So far, I have shown you a couple of patterns, okay? The major scale. I've shown you a couple of box patterns, and the ones I've shown you have been that pattern there, okay? And that pattern there. If you recall, I told you that they interlock, right? And that I would try to illustrate that for you, and here we are. You got this guy here, right? Now, as it actually looks on the guitar, they overlap. And if I can do this right, you'll see what I'm talking about. See there? That's how it would look more or less on the guitar, but when we break them down into box patterns, they're easier for you to learn, okay? So if you look at these two, they end up interlocking. See the numbers right here? Those are the frets. You notice how these two there are the same, or this one here is the same as that one there, the 7. You put it together, you notice that those are the same notes. They're coming together and overlapping. So there you go. That's 2 box patterns put together. But of course, that's going to be really difficult to learn like that. And again, that's why we break them up. Okay? But remember that they overlap. They overlap. Okay? Now, I'm going to show you some other box patterns. And then what I'm going to do is at the end of the video, I'm going to try to get them all together, all of them in box patterns and how they're linking up. Okay? So at the end of the video, look for that. And if you like these lessons, guys, keep in mind, I'm not making any money from this. If you would, please, if you like the lesson, favorite the lesson on YouTube. And if you like it, also like the lesson on YouTube. Press the like button. And subscribe and add me on as a friend, or I'll add you on as a friend. That's all I ask. Thank you very much. We'll get to the lesson right now. Alright, last time on the first major scale lesson, I showed you these 2 patterns. And then the one over here. And that box pattern there is pretty familiar to a lot of you guys, because it happens to be an A minor scale. Oh, but we'll get to that later. First of all, let's just see these as major scales, okay? Now, the first pattern I showed you was here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up the neck, and this direction on the neck is always up because the notes get higher. Alright? So, we're going to go up the neck now, and the next pattern is this one. So, you'll notice that there's a little shift here. Got to move over here a little bit, 1/2 step. And then shift over here. It's something that at first may be a little tricky, but you'll get under your fingers. The trick is, you got to practice these things. That's all there is to it. Once you learn these 5 patterns that I'm showing you now, you'll be able to just cruise up and down the neck. It'll be pretty easy. You know, once you practice them enough, you'll be able to even take one string, you know, and just go. Just keep going up and down the neck, you know. You get the picture. So, okay, let's get back to this pattern. Okay, the pattern starts with your index finger on the low E string, okay, on the 10th fret. Alright, so if you count frets, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, it's this one here. And that note there, just so you know, is a D note. Okay, you should know this by now. If you don't, what you need to do is you need to go to my absolute beginner lesson and get yourself acquainted with all the notes on the neck, okay? So, again, here we are in the 10th position. Okay, and that's that pattern. Now, the next one, the next pattern begins here on the 12th fret. The two little dots, that's the 12th fret. Okay? So, this pattern goes like this. And again, you'll notice how they overlap, right? Because the pattern I just showed you on the higher strings has these notes, right? Right? Well, those notes are right here on this pattern. See? You can see those notes there. And that's the beauty of these patterns. Once you learn them, you can just slide around. So that's those two patterns. And that's another pattern that's going to be familiar to a lot of you guys. Okay, starting to get the picture. I'm going to show you how these two patterns connect with my little thingy here. Okay. All right. In this lesson, I showed you this pattern first. Okay, and then this is the one that started on the 12th fret. Okay. If you put them together on the guitar, they will sort of appear like this. Notice how now we're starting to get the two together, and boom, they lock in place. See there? See how those two notes that I'm putting together there, they're the same notes. Again, it's easier to learn them like this, and then be able to put them together yourself on the guitar neck like that. That will happen instinctively. So then, now I'm going to show you the last box pattern. Okay? And the last box pattern picks up over here. Remember this in the last lesson, this is the first one I showed you. And then this one. So now, what happens over here? Well, this is where this one comes in, right? And it goes like this. All right? And you can see it in the little diagram right there. Okay? So now you have all your 5 box patterns. All right? And you're thinking, well, geez, what happens over here? If you've been following me, you're probably wondering what happens over here. Well, what happens over here is the same thing that happens at the 12th fret. You have to look at the guitar like this. The 12th fret here where the 2 dots are, that's the octave, okay? Essentially, the guitar neck is from here, open, to the 12th fret. At the 12th fret, it starts all over again, okay? It's the same thing. It repeats. Everything repeats here above the... Yes, the frets are smaller. That's a physics thing, okay? Note-wise, it is the same, okay? Just as an open string, like this open E string, is an open E, it's an E note here as well. Just an octave higher. See what I mean? Alright, so what happens here, scale-wise, you want to connect all these patterns, is the same thing that happens on the 12th fret. This one here, that I just showed you, would take place down here. But since we have a nut on the guitar, we don't have to press down a note here. Otherwise, it would look like this. Ready? See, what I'm doing here is I'm trying to make it look like I'm fingering a fret there, which I'm not, because the nut is there to do that. But it would, you know, I'm just trying to make it so it looks like the same pattern as it is that's over here, because it really is. Just have at it. Keep going at it, and you'll see how it all comes together. Practice is the key. By just fiddling around with these patterns, learning, get them down. You do it for hours every day, just enough to drive you crazy, but you'll get it. And then what happens is, it'll all come together. Now stay tuned, because next week, maybe earlier, I'm going to have a minor scale lesson. But you have to get this down first. And the reason I say you got to get this one down first is because the fingerings will be the same. The patterns will be the same. You'll see. It just plays over a different chord and the root notes are shifted. But if you know the major scale, you'll also know the minor scale, even though you may not know it. And now I'm going to go to the section of the video where I put all these together for you so you can see them visually. Alright, you guys. These are your basic box patterns as I have put them down for you here in this lesson. Okay? When you look at them all, they just look like 5 different patterns, but if you start to put them together like this, you see a connection here, guys? I'm making a mess of this, aren't I? Ah, what a mess. I'll try to fix it. Anyway, it's not perfect, not by a long shot, but it gives you an idea of what I mean by when I tell you that they intertwine, alright? Sorry for any added confusion here. I'm trying to make it so you can see what I'm doing. Again, and when you separate them to learn them, they go into different box patterns separately. See? And there you go. going all the way to the open position, which would be this one here. Only instead of the 12th fret, that 12th fret would be open. Okay? The 12th fret would be open. So we take this guy and we move him over here. Okay? And look what happens. Do-do-do-do. There you go. The 12th fret would be open. See what I mean? So the 13 would be your first fret. The 14th the second, 15 the third, and so forth. Okay? And of course, it also lives here where it should be there. I hope this helps. And again, stay tuned. Stay tuned for the upcoming lessons here, where I'm going to take you through the minor and all the other modes. So you'll have a really pretty good understanding of this stuff by the time we're through here in the coming weeks. See ya.